to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots.
I know there are people out there who say, oh, Trump's crazy. He says this, he says that. Don't take him seriously. Take him seriously.
But I remind him, you are not in North Korea, you are not in Turkey, you are not in Russia, Mr. President. And by the way, you are not in Saudi Arabia. You are in the United States of America. It is a democracy.
Welcome back to AM Joy. I'm Tiffany Cross. So Donald Trump's refusal to commit to a peaceful transfer of power is tainting everything he does, and quite frankly, everything I do, including his nomination of a Supreme Court announcement. In a few hours, he's expected to nominate Judge Amy Coney Barrett to fill the Supreme Court seat left vacant by the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Barrett is a conservative Catholic who could be the deciding vote on reproductive rights and many, many other key issues affecting millions of Americans just like you. But Donald Trump made it clear that the rush to fill the court vacancy is, of course, all about him and ensuring that he gets to stay in the Oval Office regardless of the will of the voters.
And I think this will end up in the Supreme Court. And I think it's very important that we have 9 justices. This scam that the Democrats are pulling, it's a scam. This scam will be before the United States Supreme Court. And I think having a 4-4 situation is not a good situation.
A scam, otherwise known as elections. According to the New York Times, the Pentagon is even concerned that Trump could use the military to put down any protests that erupt over a disputed election. Yet in an exclusive interview with MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle, Joe Biden says he's confident the will of the voters will prevail.
I just think the people in this country are going to be heard November 3rd. Every vote in this country is going to be heard, and they'll not be stopped. And I'm confident all the irresponsible, outrageous attacks on voting will have an election in this country, as we always have had. And he'll leave.
Will he, though? I mean, it's not a stretch of the imagination to believe that Trump won't go. He has always been very clear about what he would do. So we can't feign ignorance or shock or surprise when he does the very thing that he said he would. In an interview last year, he hinted that his followers could potentially turn violent if provoked. Trump told Breitbart, and I quote, "I have the support of the police, the support of the military, the support of Bikers for Trump. I have tough people, but they don't play it tough until they go to a certain point. And then it would be very bad. Very bad." Hello? You don't even need to read between the lines for that one. Although it seems unfathomable, violence around the election actually would not be something new for America. One of my guests, Jelani Cobb, writes in The New Yorker, "The United States is considered one of the most stable democracies in the world, but it has a long, mostly forgotten history of election-related violence." So I'm so happy to have this panel to talk me through all this because I've been having nightmares about it. So joining me now, Dr. Jason Johnson and Aaron Haynes. Jelani Cobb, MSNBC political analyst and staff writer for The New Yorker, and Joshua Geltzer, executive director of Georgetown Law's Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection. Josh, I am so excited to have you here. I've got to go to you first on this because you have spoken out about this very issue, and you said that we actually should not be as concerned about Trump refusing to acknowledge a peaceful transition of power, but more concerned about his ability to undermine the confidence in the public about the election itself. Explain that to me.
Look, I think there's reason to worry here, but then we need to get particular about what to worry about. Go back to 2016. Donald Trump suffered the only real political setback of his short career when he lost the Iowa caucus to Ted Cruz. And he claimed within 24 hours on Twitter that Cruz had stolen the caucus somehow. But nobody listened. It didn't matter. It's why it's forgotten, because people didn't listen. So the real question at this point in 2020 isn't what Donald Trump is saying, because he's saying outrageous, appalling things that no major party candidate in this country has said in recent memory. The real question is, will people listen? And that's where all of us can raise our voices to say, those who play a part in the process of counting and certifying votes, and that's a group that doesn't include Donald Trump, they need to play their role regardless of what Donald Trump is saying.
So I'm going to stick with you on this, Josh, because I am still very concerned. If Donald Trump says, I'm just not leaving, I won't go, what specifically are the steps? What protocols do we have in place as a country to say, oh, no, you got to go?
So here's the process. Election day is November 3. Though this year we are wise not to expect results that night because there are going to be a lot of mail-in ballots and may take time to count them. The next major date is December 8th. That's the safe harbor set by federal law. And any disputes within states about who won the electors from that state, if they're resolved by that date, Congress has pledged to respect him. Now, that's a lot of time to work things out, including through litigation, if necessary, but litigation is still peaceful, and Donald Trump wants you to doubt the legitimacy of that, but he plays no role in it. Judges deciding. We go from that date to eventually a meeting of a joint session of Congress where Congress certifies the election results. And again, Donald Trump doesn't get to say what they certify.
Okay, but I got to say, I'll get to the rest of the panel, Josh, but I got to ask you, you're saying that we depend on the court system, but how many in the court system are Trump judges? He's already plied the court with over 200 judges. He's already tilting the Supreme Court in his favor. The judiciary is a co-equal branch of government that has now been tainted. You've got 600 judges total, over 200 by Trump. Consider all the other conservative justices appointed by other presidents. Can we rely on the courts to save us from a wannabe dictator?
Here's the thing about what Donald Trump is saying. His legal arguments, to the extent they even look like legal arguments, are terrible. He should lose 8-0, 9-0 at the Supreme Court on them. The things he's saying, the idea that ballots shouldn't be counted after Election Day or mail-in ballots shouldn't be counted at all, that should be a loser in front of any judge appointed by any president of any political party. And I'm not saying not to worry. I've been one of the people who've said this president is unlike others in his refusal to accept fundamental democratic norms, and it's appalling. But at the same time, what we have to do is realize he's trying to play mind games, and he's maybe okay at that, but he's a really lousy lawyer.
Okay, Josh, I have to tell you, I've Google stalked you. I'm going to Twitter stalk you. If I drunk text you at 2 a.m., please understand that these are serious times that I am super concerned about. Jelani, I got to turn to you, our resident historian here. I was very interested in reading your piece that you wrote in the New Yorker where you detail that there actually has been violence sparked around elections. Please, if you can, quickly tell our viewers what happened and how that might play out again come this November.
Sure. So one of the things that we don't talk about in the general sense is the tradition of political violence in this country. Now, I say that in a general sense because with African Americans, our entire relationship to the ballot, to the franchise, has been mediated by violence. And so that's a very kind of clear precedent. But we don't know how much of this is extended beyond that. And so in the piece, I talk about, conflicts between Whigs and Democrats in Philadelphia, which culminated in ballot places being burned down, or the American Party, better known as the Know Nothings, who instituted such great degrees of violence in the 1850s that entire communities were not able to vote. And these were specifically attempts to disenfranchise immigrant communities, people bringing guns to the ballot place, to the polling places. We don't really have a conversation about that. And the other thing, just to quickly add on to the previous conversation, I don't think the threat is so much Trump saying that he won't go as a kind of solitary exercise in kind of truculent, bratty behavior. Like a 3-year-old stomping his foot and, refusing to eat his vegetables. I think the bigger issue is throwing up so much disarray and so much chaos that people don't know, that the public doesn't know who actually won the election. And then the real concern is that whether or not the state legislatures will do what they're supposed to do and seat the electors who favor the candidate who has the highest numerical tally of votes in their state, or if the cloud of disarray gives them cover to say, well, we believe that these votes are tainted, so we're going to seat electors that are favorable to Donald Trump. And that is a very real possibility. We don't know what's going to happen. And the last thing I'll say about this is, at every single turn, we have been hearing this for 4 years, that the institutions were going to rein in Donald Trump. Every single one of them has failed, or at best had a checkered record in terms of reining him in. We have seen impeachment fail, which is supposed to be the grand kind of nuclear card of reining in a president who is not abiding by the law. We cannot passively presume that the mechanisms that are supposed to prevent a president from turning into a dictator will actually operate as they should in the coming election.
Jelani, you are preaching to the choir. So I want to bring you in here, Aaron, because you covered the campaign. You're talking very closely to the candidates, specifically Senator Kamala Harris. How concerned do you think that the campaign should be about these threats that Donald Trump is making?
Well, the campaign is saying that they are quite concerned, and they've talked about, a huge voter protection army that they plan on standing up in the 38 days or so that we have between now and, as Joshua said, the day that the ballots are being counted. We do not want people to think that Election Day is the day that we're going to know necessarily who the next president of the United States is. But, Tiffany, I hear the alarm and the anxiety in your voice, and I will just tell you that the pandemic can be very clarifying as an explanatory tool. So just stick with me for a minute, if you will, on this. The American people are looking for whoever the next president is to instill confidence in them, right? Not fear. The election is not going to be over when President Donald Trump, just because he says it's over, just like the coronavirus has not been over just because he has wanted it to go away. And really, the idea that this was supposed to be the same president who didn't want to scare people, right? With the notion that the coronavirus was a serious threat, but somehow telling people that they should be alarmed about the integrity of our elections is okay, as long as it's for his kind of political purposes. But what we know is that treating mail-in balloting as something that is dangerous, something like a virus, that's really irresponsible. The threat here is voter suppression, and the threat here is how people are going to be able to vote safely in the middle of this pandemic. And so, political leaders, and we're seeing a lot of them kind of at the state and local level, that are doing exactly what we should expect them to do, regardless of party, which is to be telling voters how they can protect themselves about those threats, actual threats to the health of our democracy with 38 days to go.
Yeah, you hear the anxiety in my voice, and you read the anxiety in the text that I send you. I want to bring in Jason here. Jason, Trump has said that he will only lose if they cheat. You are the resident cynic, right. You know this, but I have to say you are in good company today, my friend. So as the astute political scientist that you are, what's your prediction come this November when we're already seeing the mayhem play out?
So I want to make it clear, Tiff, and I think this is really important that we've been focusing on this and making it clear. We're not going to know on election night. The President of the United States is cheating, right? Let's not forget the post office. Every single time we talk about elections, we have to talk about that they are still dismantling post office processing centers. This is very important. This is very, very key. And also understand, and I don't think this could be stated enough, Donald Trump already knows he's going to lose. That's why he's cheating. You don't cheat if you think you're going to win. And if this election, and I make this very clear when I get my students to register to vote whenever I talk about these issues, if this election comes down to the courts, Joe Biden is losing, period. I don't trust the Supreme Court. I don't trust them to do the right thing. We already saw during the primaries in Minnesota where you had a court rule that ballots that came in after Election Day, even if they were postmarked properly, wouldn't count. So your job is to go out and vote and allow Joe Biden to win at large enough margins that even the Supreme Court doesn't want to appear that they are overturning popular will. That is the only way to have success. If it's on the margins, if it's on the line, they will be able to cover themselves in the same chaos that Donald Trump is trying to foster. So I don't think we're going to know election night. I do suspect there will be violence, but as Jelani mentions in this article, and I think people have to remember, election violence never ended in this country. Ask LaTosha Brown. Ask the New Georgia Project. Black people who are going down today to register people to vote are met by police officers with guns, have the backs of their buses shot out, have election offices burned and Molotov cocktails thrown inside of them. So election violence against black people ain't never ended. People are shocked now because now white people might actually be the victims.
You said ask LaTosha Brown. I will do just that because she's going to be joining us later in the show. I was hoping this panel would give me some kind of hope. You all failed me because I am even more, have more anxiety after this panel. So expect to get texts from me later at probably 3 in the morning tonight. But thank you all for at least trying to walk our viewers through the process and dissecting what we, quite frankly, should be worried about. So Aaron will be right back with us, but I want to thank you, Dr. Jason Johnson, Jelani Cobb, get back to those twins because I know you were busy with them this morning, and Joshua Geltzer, who I'm going to Twitter stalk later. Thank you guys for a great panel. Next up,